Welcome to The Road Reflected with Nicole Wakeland. Automotive from the lighter side. That means cars, but also cookies, coffee, and pie. Up first, what's Nicole behind the wheel of this week?
Okay, everyone, this week I am driving another luxury electric vehicle. It is the 2023 Mercedes Benz EQE SUV.
We are rocking down to Electric Avenue.
Because we're stuck in the 80s. But
yes.
we do.
Take it higher.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Please, everyone stop him because you really don't need him to be singing. That's the last thing we need.
I've got coffee.
Yes. We do have really big mugs of coffee as we're sitting here recording. Mm-hmm. So the EQE SUV, gosh, I hate it when it's just letters. I want it to be called a thing. Yeah. I want it to have a name.
I think people have forgotten how branding works.
Yeah, and then it gets confusing because you're like EQE, EQS, wait, S-Class, E-Class, C-Class. It's confusing. So anyway, but it is the EQE SUV. So it's an all-new model. It's their two-row EV. It's an SUV. So it's a little bit smaller. So, it's not tiny. It's not like crossover size, but it's going to be able to be like enough that you can really put adults in the back seat and they'll be comfortable. No, the cargo area isn't huge in this. Like it's on as two-row SUVs go, it's a little bit smaller on the cargo area. But I kind of feel like you're not driving around in a Mercedes because you want to haul mulch home from Home Depot today. I just don't think that's what we're trying to do.
It's not really what one does in a Mercedes.
No, one does not do that in a Mercedes. So,
but you could.
You could. I mean, you could if you really wanted to, if you're brave. I mean, gosh, because the interior is so pretty that the thought of putting anything in the back of that wasn't like a Louis Vuitton suitcase or something kind of makes me cringe. But it starts at just under, it's $77,900. So it's
not
just
really in the affordable category.
No, because Mercedes.
Right.
There's three trims. I had the top, which is the 500, and it is the starting price on that is $89,500. So you're looking at a $90,000 SUV that we're driving this week, Russ.
Yeah, living large.
Living large. So it has all-wheel drive. It has 402 horsepower. It has 269 miles of range. Decent amount of range.
How'd the pickup feel with 402 horses?
It goes 402 horses. Actually, it's fine. I mean, you hit the pedal and it moves. It gets on the highway easily. It's great. I had some horrifically heavy traffic to drive through. It is really good at giving you that burst of speed. Like, I need to get in front of that giant tractor trailer. I'm going to be going 5 miles an hour on this construction zone. You can do it.
Nice.
It's really, in that way, it's really good. And it does DC fast charging. So you get 10 to 80% in 32 minutes. So if you are road tripping,
that's reasonable.
You'd want it to be fast. Like everyone wants to be faster, right? You want it to be as fast as like putting gas in your car, but it's not.
Kind of rule, like if you've driven for 2 to 3 hours, you should take a half-hour break.
The rule is if the aliens, they say that roughly every 2 hours you should hop out of the car. It doesn't matter whether you're 5 years old or 30 years old or 80 years old. You're supposed to get out of the car because it's just not good to sit for that long. That's why people get up and pace on airplanes sometimes.
You also get like road hypnosis. You become less attentive, all those sorts of things.
Yes. Yeah. So it's good to get a break, to get out, stretch your legs. It's just good for you. So you shouldn't be in the car forever. So I guess an EV kind of forces you to do that. I mean, you will get out and be healthy.
Sure. It would be nice if you could just hop out, fuel it up and go. But it's getting closer. 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes is not too bad. So I mean, you don't have to. That's the thing. You don't have to stop and charge all the way every time you stop. You don't have to charge fully, and that 10 to 80% sweet spot, which is when your vehicle is going to charge the fastest. Lower than that and higher than that, the charging rate will slow no matter how fast your car is capable of charging. You don't have to go all the way up to 80. If you're just stopping real quick and you want to charge for 10 minutes because that's what it took for you to run in and go to the bathroom or to grab a cup of coffee or whatever, you can do that. So there's no rule that says you have to sit there for 32 minutes. You can just stop a little bit more often for breaks and charge a little bit. So that's always something to do. The interior of this is just, it's a Mercedes. I feel like that should be the entire review. What's this?
How's the interior?
It's a Mercedes because
that could just be the benchmark for everything else.
Like,
where does it fall on the Mercedes scale of interiors?
It could be because the thing is, Mercedes, they're so and you see a difference as you go to a more expensive version of any given Mercedes. It gets nicer. Like the seats are more plush and you get crazy headrests and things get nicer. But you can't get a not nice Mercedes.
No,
I don't think you can.
You feel like you're driving about in your living room.
Yes. Your very plush living room.
You're on the plush couch and you're just driving along and the car doesn't... The car handles nice and everything. It doesn't have a lot of roll. It doesn't feel like you're getting thrown back in your seat. You're just cruising about in your living room.
Yes. And it's a lovely living room. The only thing that's missing is a butler. Maybe that's what Mercedes needs to do.
Butler.
Right?
Yeah.
You need to have a butler. I guess the closest they come is, you have the voice activated. You can do the "Hey Mercedes," and the car's like, "How can I help you?"
Yeah, it does get the butler vibe though.
Yeah.
The accent's good.
Yeah, it doesn't have an accent. It's American.
Got a Mercedes accent.
Mercedes. Pray tell
A Mercedes
is,
accent is like, I'm here to help you. What service can I render for you?
It sounds fancy.
As other cars, maybe lower end cars, their voice assistant might more sound like, I will do what I can, but no promises. I feel like the Mercedes, like, you're going to get something.
Okay, that's fair. So I like this. I like this car because I like Mercedes. I just think they're beautiful. Yes, they're expensive. There are some that are exorbitantly expensive. But this one, if you're looking for luxury SUV, this isn't crazy pricing, right? If you want something cheaper, sure, you can find it. But I really like the Mercedes. And I do like, okay, here's the thing. So the cup holder in this car, it's like a dual cup holder.
Yes.
One front.
There's stories here in this cup holder.
Well, but the cup holder actually, it has a clip and it pops out.
Yes.
So you can take the entire thing out. The reason I like that is, well, if for some reason you didn't want to have a drink with you, which is bizarro because I always have coffee or soda.
Mug of something.
Right. You got a cup of something in there.
Okay.
But if you have somebody in your family, not me, maybe your spouse, who is not good about cleaning things.
I know what you're talking about.
When things spill in the cup holder, and then you look in the cup holder, and there is, I'm going to call it cup muck. There's like that.
Cup muck.
There's like, I don't know, that combination of a little coffee, a little soda, a little condensation, and it's become something of a science experiment.
It's good to learn more about biology.
You can take that biology experiment, that petri dish, pick it up, bring it into your house, completely clean it off of the sink, dry it out, and put it back.
That just gave me an idea of what Mercedes could do to level up their interior.
What?
Self-cleaning cup holders.
Like the headlights, a little washer comes out and goes.
Yes, a little penguin comes out or something and cleans your cup holder. I feel like this would be an opportunity.
Self-cleaning cup holders.
But they do make it easier for you to clean it.
Yeah, which seems like a little thing, but you don't want your beautiful, gorgeous, fancy pants Mercedes interior to look like garbage. So if you can clean your cup, so I like that you can do that. That's kind of neat, and I like it. I think that's a neat thing.
Now, what's our cup holder count in this vehicle?
There's 4. There's 2 in the front, and there's like a little deployable one. It kind of pops out of that center armrest in the
back seat.
Yeah, you can pop them out if you want them, or you can push them back inside if you don't need them, which I think is kind of neat. And because it comes out like of the front of the armrest in the back, you have a full armrest even when you have drinks in there. Yeah. So you don't give up half your armrest to put your drink in there. The one thing that kind of drove me a little bit batty on this, and it didn't bother you at all. So I think it literally has to do with how tall you are.
I didn't even notice it until you mentioned it. And I was like, oh yeah, that could be frustrating.
So I'm 5'6".
Yeah.
And you are 6'3".
Correct.
And there is a side step on the Mercedes. It's a fixed step, and it's to help you get in. So it's because it's an SUV, and
it's like a side rail situation.
But the thing is, this isn't a really high SUV. You're not getting into like something that has a lift and it's like rugged, off-road capable. We can go climb trails and crawl over rocks.
It's one of those SUVs where you look at it and it's so low that is that an SUV or is that a crossover? It's in that zone of middleness.
Right. So the step is weirdly placed. So if you either if you step on it, it's like, I don't want to step on that. I want to step over it.
You don't need
it weirdly raises up. And if you step on it to get into the car, it's like you're not the right height. You're too high. Right. Like you're squinching down to get in. So then you're stepping over it, which you're like, okay, why is that such a big deal? Not a big deal. Once you get used to that, imagine how wide that is that you have to step over to get on the ground. And it was raining. Like it's constantly been raining at home. Yeah. So it was raining, so it's wet. So if you don't step over it correctly, you get dirt all on the back of your leg or your pants or whatever it is you're wearing, and it drove me nuts.
Yeah, I feel like now I didn't notice it because when you're of a certain height, you don't get that close to the vehicle to step in anyway. So I didn't even notice it. But if it's an optional add-on, I think if you're a shorter person, don't get it, and if you're a taller person, you don't need it. So it was
optional, but I don't even. It was. I didn't get a full listing of exactly how this was equipped, so I don't know if this is standard or not. But if it wasn't, I wouldn't get it. Because I don't like it. I mean, it looks kind of cool because it's silver.
It's only there for visual appeal.
Yes.
So I guess if you really like the visuals and don't mind stepping over, it adds some. Fine, but
gives you some eye
no
candy.
Useful purpose.
It is absolutely no useful purpose. Although I really love the car overall. It looks good. It drives nicely. It has decent range, and it has
the grill though on these new Mercedes. Right?
Yes.
Oh, you got to describe it
because it's like this. Because there's no. You don't need venting. You don't need like on a traditional grill with a gas engine. So it's one solid piece, but it has the teeny tiny little Mercedes star. That the emblem, the badge. It's
little 3-point thingy.
Little 3 points. It's all embedded. It's like all over the front of it. So it looks beautiful, and it's on the dashboard too. It's in parts of the dashboard.
It's cool they did it because this 3 points with the circle is in the middle like a giant metal.
Right,
thing.
the badge,
but
the official badge.
But then the little 3 points without the circle are like sprinkled around, like almost like little.
It's like stars.
As a nerd,
stars.
all I see is caltrops. From Dungeons and Dragons, you throw those.
Wouldn't that be cool if it was like a James Bond car? You push a button and it just shot caltrops.
For like pursuers. Because Mercedes are always the vehicle of choice for the spy or the spy's bad guys.
Well, it's not always the vehicle choice. Cough, cough, Aston Martin. But that's the good guy. Yeah.
The bad guys are always in like G-Wagons. Or they're in Land Rovers, let's be honest. But oftentimes they're in some kind of Mercedes vehicle.
They're in some big SUV that's trying to take out the spy who's not in a big SUV, but gets away anyway.
I mean, you got to,
if you're a villain, you need to. Hey, so what we're saying is the Mercedes Benz EQE SUV is the perfect villain car. Hey everyone, if you like what you're hearing, then go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe either on YouTube or your favorite podcatcher. And if you really like us, go into iTunes and leave us a little review. We'd really appreciate it. So the next vehicle we're going to talk about is actually not one I drove.
You didn't drive it?
No, nobody's driven it.
Oh, fancy.
So fancy.
So is it like a reveal?
It is.
Is it like an exclusive reveal?
Well, not exclusive. There were a bazillion people there, but it was the reveal.
When are we going to get an exclusive?
Reveals are normally like a huge number of people in a fancy room.
Fine, sure. Lights. Try to make a splash.
They put a silk over the car. Oh, this one they didn't. But anyway, it's the 2023 Toyota Land Cruiser.
All right.
So the Land Cruiser was last out. It was started in 1958. It disappeared in 2021. They said it's discontinued. Everyone cried. In fact, they cried so much that the sales actually spiked right when they announced it. Like everyone panicked. It was like, oh gosh, I get one right now.
And Toyota's like, what have we done?
They're like, what have we done? This was a colossal mistake. Fools.
Right.
So now it's back, the 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. So it is back. I'm happy about this. I think everybody's pretty happy about this.
I think there's a lesson here for fans. Like if you make a big enough, if something you love is going away, there's all kinds of examples of this, like when Star Trek was first canceled back in the 70s, all that stuff. When your fans write in and let people know, I think
it was probably, to give the...
Or was it a stunt? Do we think it was a stunt?
You don't build a car in a year and a half unless you're like some companies. So chances are good it was like, we're just going to like kill this and then maybe bring it back.
Kind of like
or
maybe
if they killed it and everyone had thrown a party, they'd have been like, well, we should let it die. They did not throw a party. They threw sad little funerals for the...
So it was sort of like a Kickstarter for a car. You kind of throw it there.
Except people weren't giving money, pledging. Here, Toyota, we pledge you $500. Like a car Kickstarter. I want that. If you get to level 3, you get heated seats.
That's right. That's a stretch goal. Our stretch goal is heated seats and removable cup holders.
I'd be tempted to do that just to see like how many accessories can we get put on this car.
I want a car Kickstarter now.
A car Kickstarter. They did not kickstart the Land Cruiser. The normal process for developing a vehicle was in place. So this being, and talking about people loving it, it's so loved. The debut for this was at the Land Cruiser Museum in Salt Lake City, Utah.
I didn't know there was a Land Cruiser.
Neither did I until I went to the Land Cruiser Museum. And I think half of us were like, wait, there's a museum? And it is really, it's this tiny, it's a decent sized building. I mean, it's got cars in it, but they had row upon row upon row of all these vintage Land Cruisers. And some of them had neat stories. Like one of the cool ones they had, and it was horrible, but it was amazing. It was burned in the wildfires in California. And it had been this, forgot the model year, but it was this beautiful, perfect vintage Land Cruiser completely destroyed. But it's in the museum to show this is what happened to this one. And it's like you can't save it. It's done. It's melted. Right. So, but they have all these different vehicles, and they even had, this I feel like is how you know that you have fans. People love your car. They had little versions of Land Cruisers that were like little kid cars, like little
little battery powered ones.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And some of these were older, but they were the great thing. Like I remember our girls when they were little had a Dora the Explorer Jeep.
I remember because I spent the entire Christmas Eve till 3 a.m. assembling
The Dora the Explorer Jeep. Yeah, I gave up. I'm like, I love you. I'm going to bed.
This, although they did love it, so I felt like my efforts were not in vain.
Your efforts were not in vain, but like you don't generally have a car that becomes a kid's car unless it's got such fans. It's not like the kids. Well, they might necessarily, but mom and dad are like, ooh.
No, it really is the adult. Like, I want my kid driving a Jeep, even if it's a Dora Jeep,
and it's bright pink
with an attachment for the map.
Boots on there. Yeah, map came out.
Map came out.
Backpack came out too.
Backpack came out. Oh, it was quite the gear.
I forgot that until you said that.
Oh yeah, and Boots was in there. Yeah,
yeah. So it was a whole thing. So not Dora. It's not Dora themed at the Land Cruiser Museum. Just to clarify. But so the new Land Cruiser. So what makes it so it's still keeps this sort of heritage styling. It's like it takes everything that was kind of cool. It still looks like a Land Cruiser, but it moves it forward. One of the big things it has. Okay, so there's 3 trims of this. The base trim has round headlights. The other 2 trims have rectangular headlights. It's become a point of debate. I'm team round headlights. You're going to be team round headlights because that's what I'm telling you.
Okay, well, I have a concern about this.
Why?
Well, so Jeep has round headlights.
Well, many cars have round headlights, right? Jeep doesn't own that.
Well, I know a lot of people have round headlights, but Jeep has round
They're
headlights.
not like that. It's not just like these round headlights popped right on there next to the
Why
grill.
don't we just stay square, and that way no one has to get offended by anyone's round headlights looking at anyone else's round headlights.
That's where their marriage fell apart over headlights in the Toyota Land Cruiser.
The Land Cruiser with square lights looks fine, doesn't it?
Yeah, I know they both look fine.
I mean, I do like round better. Don't get me wrong, but that's why I own a Jeep.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Just saying.
So round headlights or rectangular or square headlights.
Yeah.
The pricing on the base trim, it starts, and they were very, very clear about this, starts in the mid-50s.
Okay.
What's the other trim? We don't know yet. It starts in the mid-50s. And I was even talking to someone, it was kind of fun because he's like, getting pricing, it was like we're it's a lot to pull all this together for a vehicle. And like, we need some kind of price to give them when we reveal this. So like, we will say it starts in the mid-50s. The rest of it, who knows? So
we're still working on that.
like no hint whatsoever. And they're like, it's not like we're keeping that from you. We don't know. So mid-50s. So reasonable-ish. I mean, this is a big SUV. It's not a tiny thing. And it does have capability to it. You know, it has... I just lost train of thought. It has crawl control, downhill assist, locking rear diff. It has good clearance.
So plenty capable, skid plates, all that stuff.
Right. So you're going to be, until we drive it and we get like detail everything and we get a chance to have, take it out there. No one really knows how well. I don't imagine that Toyota has flubbed this because after taking it off the market and then putting it back on, they're going to want it to do the off-roady stuff people expect it to do.
Where would you rank this in terms of, because different years of the Land Cruiser, it's looked different levels of bad arse, as it were. Where would you rank this in terms of the bad arseness? Is it like the bad arseness back with this year, or is it like kind of in the mid-years of being middling?
I like it, and there's people that say in terms of how it looks, that it looks very Defender, which it does.
Okay, the Defender's a cool-looking vehicle.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So but a lot of vehicles are starting to look Defender because the SUVs.
The Defender's a cool-looking vehicle.
Right?
Let's be honest.
There was this move to make everything for a while. They're like, oh, we're not this boxy, rugged car.
Right.
We're going to be curvy. We're going to be sporty. I'm like, you're a 3-row SUV.
Yeah.
Crawling through. You're not sporty. You're not sporty.
Look, everyone knows you want a brick. That's what you want.
I always say you want a toaster.
Yeah, you want a brick going down the street. That's what these things are supposed to be because they're capable.
Right, but even though it's got the toaster / brick vibe going on, it's only available with a hybrid powertrain, which
interesting.
People are like, I don't know how I feel about the hybrid. We have questions.
That's sort of a thing, though. But you have these cafe standards. You got to do something.
Right. So, and it has 326 horsepower. So it's a decent amount of horsepower. And it has what Toyota calls their iForce Max hybrid. So there's you have a hybrid, which is just hybrid. You have the iForce Max, and then you have, gas engines. I like the iForce Max. They have it on a couple other vehicles.
Is this like a plug-in hybrid situation?
No, it's not a plug-in hybrid. It's just a different. So it gives you a little bit more power, a little bit more responsive, but not quite as efficient as a straight up hybrid. So I think of it as the happy medium. Like I want some hybrid efficiency, but I want a little performance, but I don't want to go all the way to, where do I go? I go with the iForce Max.
Okay.
I really like.
So you still get power from the ICE engine when you need it.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So I feel like it's just really well balanced. Like I've driven vehicles of theirs where they have multiple versions.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, hybrid's fine. Ooh, this iForce Max hybrid is really nice. Like it is noticeably different if you drive it back to back.
I feel like that could be really helpful if you're going to want to tow with this thing too. Did they talk about towing at all?
They did talk about towing, and I didn't pop the tow ratings in my
but it sounds like
show notes.
It does a solid job.
It's totally capable of towing.
Talked about it, so it must be something they're thinking about.
Right. It definitely tows. And again, this is an SUV that has to be. It's not a wimpy SUV. It's a capable, rugged. So it's like, yeah, you can tow. Yeah, you can haul stuff.
Well, a lot of people that want vehicles that are capable, they want to tow their boat or they want to tow their little camper or things like that. So you got to have that.
And you can do all this. And inside, there's 3 trims here. You've got even the base trim. You've got, you can get heated seats and steering wheel.
Right.
But it's cloth seats. And they have a smaller infotainment screen. Once you move up, you get like a 12.3-inch touch screen, and you get 10-speaker audio. You get bigger tires.
So you still got that little bit of luxury while you're cruising down the highway.
Right. It's even in the base trim. It's not like it's one of those base trims that feels like you were trying to save a few bucks and couldn't get anything nice. You wouldn't mind spending some time in it. And the thing is, what it looks like it's going to be a good combination of the style and the character and the heritage of the Land Cruiser with a modern hybrid powertrain in there and the capability to do what you want to do, whether your capability is just, I'm just going to the grocery store, I like this car, or I really want to go out and I want to crawl around the rocks and do something. It looks like you're going to be able to do it in the Toyota Land Cruiser.
There you go. It's a nice looking vehicle.
It is.
Hey, wait, did we just drive by a bakery?
Yes, actually we did. Or we didn't drive by it. We walked to it.
But let's be clear. When we go to a town that we haven't been to before, which is where we are now.
Yes. We're in Wausau, Wisconsin.
One of the first things we do after figuring out, where breakfast might be tomorrow is how many bakeries are in town and which ones they must visit.
I look every time. I look to see if there's bakeries, and then I judge them. I look at Yelp, and I look at every possible source. I look at Facebook, and I'm like, that one.
Now, this one was a softball, even before we got a local recommendation.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because normally we talk to local folks, right? Talk to shopkeepers, talk to the innkeeper, whatever.
Because people have their favorites in town.
Everybody's
and sometimes
got their favorites, of course,
you don't know the favorite thing unless you ask.
But this one, so I was just looking. I go into Yelp and I look for bakeries, right, and sweets. And this one, we happen to be traveling with my daughter and her significant other, and he is a huge cheesecake fan.
He is.
So when this one listed with cheesecake in the title,
we're like, well, I got to go there.
I'm like, you don't normally see cheesecake in the title of bakeries.
You do not.
Often. And so I'm like, well, this one, even if no one thinks it's interesting, we got to go there.
Yes.
Cheesecake in the title.
And they did. As soon as you're like, well, you guys, it's a little bit of a walk, but it's cheesecake. They were like, I'm in.
He likes cheesecake so much that our daughter learned to make cheesecake.
Yeah, and she makes a not half bad cheesecake. I can tell you a funny story. So it said that it needed a springform pan. This is where I felt very mom. And I'm like, oh, kids are cute. And she made it, and the crust was all sort of crumbling on the top edge. And I'm like, what did you use? A cake pan? I'm like, it didn't say springform pan. She's like, no. And she's like, oh, wait, it does. Mom, what is that?
What is a springform pan?
I was like, aw.
Let me tell you how the cheesecake can come out.
Let me tell you how cooking works. Yeah. So I was like, look at me, Mom, and like a champ. Here's a springform pan, darling.
Hey, we all learned something that day.
Yes. Anyway, so this was called Sugar and Spice Cheesecake is the name of the place. And it's a tiny little shop in Wausau, Wisconsin. Which is a cute little town. It's a cute little town. Like,
next to the one mountain in Wisconsin.
Yeah, we're staying in this beautiful inn in Wisconsin. Here it's called the Stewart Inn. It's really, really lovely.
Oh, it's a very lovely
And we
breakfast.
walked over to this cheesecake place. Yeah. And so when you go into a cheesecake shop, sometimes you can only buy like a huge slice or a whole cheesecake.
That's what I figured. I figured it'd be there going like entire cheesecake or one or two big slices. Right. Kind of like Julian pie. You're going to expect that sort of situation.
And that's kind of what we were thinking. I'm like, well, we can bring it back to the inn. We can put it in their little fridge. And then we can, when we drive the kids back.
They are brilliant.
They are brilliant.
This is evil almost.
Because they have slices. You can buy slices. Yeah. Then they have some that look like almost like a cupcake. Yes. And then they had little mini ones. And when I say mini, I mean, you can easily pop this in your mouth in one bite. It's like a teeny little mini.
You know the Reese's peanut butter cups, the little small ones that you get in Halloween things and you unwrap.
They were about that size.
They were almost exactly that size and they looked like it.
Yes.
But they weren't peanut butter cups.
They were not peanut butter cups. They were really good cheesecakes. And they have a million flavors. Okay, and they didn't have all the flavors on their site.
Daily they change.
Right. And
so you never know what you're going to get.
We were kind of later in the day, so I'm betting if we'd been there earlier, we'd have had more flavors.
Pretty close.
But they have like key lime and Oreo and coconut.
Key lime was so good.
I love that. They have vanilla. They have a salted caramel. And you could actually, I got that one, and little bits of salt. You can really taste the salt.
Yeah.
Then they had one that they didn't have that day. Like, we asked the guy his favorite, and he said it was white chocolate raspberry. Yeah. And I was like, dude, never tell your customers your favorite is one you don't have. Pick a favorite from your case, because now I'm sitting there thinking.
Pro tip.
Yeah.
Although we would go back if we heard.
I would go back if I was here longer.
If they weren't open,
we got to find the white chocolate raspberry. Yeah. But I was like, man, now I want white chocolate raspberry. I don't know if they're open today. We might be swinging by on the way out of town.
I assume they're closed on Sunday. Maybe we could check that.
I don't know. Sunday's a great day for treats and coffee,
it
right?
Sure is, yeah.
So they have all these amazing flavors. So we got a bunch because there's 4 of us, and we tried like 6 different kinds of these because
we each
took
got 2,
bites.
which felt responsible.
It did.
And of
feel
course, they also
responsible.
sold full-size cheesecakes and all that.
Yes.
But what was also cool is they had a full-on espresso coffee bar.
Yeah, so it wasn't just like random coffee, they have the fake espresso machine some
it was
places.
like one of the high-end, $10,000 Italian jobs.
Yeah, like the kind you want in your kitchen, but you don't really need in your kitchen, but you really, really want one.
Yes.
And there's no reason on earth you should buy a coffee maker that costs as much as a small car.
Yeah.
But you want it, you really do. But they had all these different coffees, and the interior of the place, it was such a cute little atmosphere. So it's this tiny little shop. It's not like on a strip with all these different stores. It's this tiny little shop sort of standing alone in this area where it is. And it's all like light pink and light green. I mean, it's
super cute.
It's cute. It is the definition of cute little shop. And they had inside, it's like the chairs are a light pink, like velvet, and a light green. And they have plants everywhere. Like there's little plants, there's hanging
It was
plants.
really nice. It was very sweet.
And the cutest thing, the plants have names. Like I'm sitting there and I
didn't catch
look.
this.
Yeah, I look and it says Alex on the lovely green plant next to me. And I said, does it mean that Alex in charge of watering this? Do they actually name the plants? And sure enough, we look and they're named. They have little labels, little dino labels stuck on the sides of them. So you have a plant. So I had my lovely cheesecake next to Alex. Alex was a very companionable seatmate. He was very quiet.
Didn't talk too much. Didn't try to eat your cheesecake.
Did not try and steal my
really
cheesecake,
important.
which is also an important thing.
Yeah.
So I love this spot. In fact, I loved it enough. I looked. I don't think they do shipping because I looked. I don't know. Maybe they could ship it to you if you paid the price of a cheesecake again to probably ship it to you.
Yeah.
But if I lived here, I would be here all the time getting this stuff.
It's dangerous. And what was really impressive to me, brilliant, first of all, that they make them so small. They sell them in packs, right? So you can get like a 6-pack, a 10-pack, a 12-pack.
They have a 12-pack anniversary pack that you can pre-order
they're
right
the
now.
clear plastic sort of thing, so you can
God, they
arrange
look
them
so
all.
good.
And so families were coming in and buying these whole things.
So there was a little
girl.
girl that came to the door, and she was little. She's maybe like 5, and she tried to open the door, and she just fumbled opening the door. So she thought it was locked, and it's a glass door, and I could see
it's close to closing.
The look on her face, the absolute horror.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you thought she knew it was going to close. She was kind of running to
Right?
the door,
And
and then she thought she'd missed it.
and she had that panic, and then she starts to wiggle
her
the door
day
and
was
opens.
ruined.
Yeah, and like the relief. I'm like, this poor little girl thought she wasn't going to get her cheesecake.
And what was really cool too, and this is the thing, so these little tiny cheesecakes, what was neat about these little, very small little cupcake things, they decorated the top of each one.
Yeah.
Like I had the German chocolate one, and I had the little coconut caramel decoration on top, and like each one. So when you put all 12 of them in the
It
box,
looks
like
super pretty.
looking through the clear top, it was just really a beautiful presentation. Like I could not believe how much care and detail was going into each individual little cheesecake.
So,
It was
and I love
amazing.
this because this is a really cute little town to like hang out and spend the
It is.
weekend in, to get away from all. It's like 2 hours ish north.
2.5 hours north of Milwaukee.
So it's a cute little spot
Northwest.
in Wisconsin, and I thought, gosh, I would like come up here on that. Like now, I'm thinking like we could come back here.
Yeah, it's a
and
cute
get
little, like
more
there's one
cheesecake.
mountain, there's like not very many mountains.
But we're
in
going to
Wisconsin.
clarify. This is a Wisconsin mountain.
Yeah, it's more of a hill, but it's big enough to have ski slopes on it.
It does. It has real
So
ski
this town
slopes.
also is a ski town in the wintertime because
Which is hard to imagine.
they got
but
this one mountain.
Yes.
And it sounds like I'm picking on them, but we're from the Northeast where we actually have mountains.
But
If you're
to be
from Colorado, it would
fair,
look like a
the
freaking
Colorado
speed bump.
picks on the Northeast, the Northeast picks
so-
on the
so
Midwest.
we can
Is
pick
that how
on-
we go?
But like if you're from New England and you know Massachusetts, it's like Wachusett Mountain kind of size. Yeah, it's like
Wachusett.
that sort of thing, like small
Yeah.
but still fun, right? But because of this is like a little sort of touristy town, great food scene.
Yeah.
Like amazing
Oh,
restaurants.
the food. It is funny when you go to a small town and you're expecting not to
Yeah.
have fancy food, and the food is incredible.
Cute little fun shops because again of all the tourists who come for the skiing, and then some of these amazing treat places like Sugar and Spice, which was just insane.
Yeah, I would absolutely come back here just to kind of get cheesecake. I mean, the inn is lovely. The restaurants were lovely. We had some really fancy shrimp chartreuse. That's a thing, people.
Yeah.
And we had that, and it was delicious. But in the end, I mean, like, can we just come back
How
to
about
Wisconsin?
a 2.5 hour road trip just to get cheesecake?
Just to have cheesecake because we're those people. 2.5 hours, pff, we can do that. And there's
Cheesecake
coffee
and
at the end
coffee.
of it, too. So let's get cheesecake and coffee in Wausau, Wisconsin.
Thanks for listening to The Road Reflected. To follow more of Nicole Wakeland's adventures, head on over to NicoleWakeland.com. There you'll find links to her social media from TikTok to Twitter, as well as her work across a wide range of media outlets. Until next time, keep it shiny side up.